everybody, welcome to the virtual Murray Edwards Craft Hour. Today we are going to be doing some rock painting, and here you can see some examples of rocks that were painted by students in the last 2 to 3 years since we've been doing this particular craft. Some of the ones that I really like you can see on this particular picture here. There's a lovely fox and some amazing silhouetted trees, and the silhouetted trees is something that I'm going to be doing today. But when you're rock painting, you can choose whatever size of rock is suitable that you found. They can be really big or really small like this one, and you can use the rock to create your design. For example, this one that one of the students did looks like it was the shape of a duck, and so that they've actually done a duck's head, which I think is really effective and uses the shape of the rock really well. Similarly, this one, a very tiny little rock, you can see is a ladybird that we've done, and it's very simple and very effective to do. This is one I actually found on a walk somewhere else in a place called the Forest of Dean, and this is incredibly detailed. So when you are really experienced at doing rock painting, you can create amazing pictures such as this, with all the fine details of the feathers, the beak and the feet. But we're not going to do something as complicated as that today. We're just going to do something slightly more simple. What do you need? Well, today you can see that we've covered the table with a towel, and that's just so that we don't get any paint on the table. You need either some paints, or you could use nail varnish as well. We did that last year during our virtual craft sessions, and it worked very well. You need the rocks, of course, and you need something to varnish or seal your rocks after you've painted them. Within the library, we use this, which is called Plasticoat, which is a clear kind of sealant. However, if you're doing this at home, you can also use clear nail varnish, and that works in exactly the same way, and it just protects your stone and your design when you put it outside from the elements such as water and rain, snow, etc. Okay, so we're going to start now, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our stones. These need to be washed and clean and dry before you do it, otherwise you'll get dust on them and the paint won't adhere to the rocks very well. I'm going to choose this little stone, and I'm going to try and make one of these trees like this one here. This is a spring one. I particularly quite like all of the autumn colours, so I'm going to try and make an autumn one. So to start with, I'm going to take my black paint. These are particular acrylic paint markers, which are great because you don't need loads of water or anything, and you can just shake them and the paint goes down into the bottom of the nib, and then we can use it to draw. So first of all, I'm going to start with drawing the tree trunk, and you don't have to be fantastic at drawing because you just build up the colours and the paints as you go along. This particular paint is a water-based paint, so it does dry quite quickly, but also if you do make a complete and utter disaster, you can always go and wash it off, which is really helpful. So at the moment you can see that I'm starting to add the branches into my tree. Okay, so there you've got the tree trunk, like as if it's stark in the winter. Now we're going to leave that to dry for a couple of minutes before we add the rest of the colour. Okay, our design is now touch dry, which is great. So I'm now going to start to add some of the leaves. Because I want this to be an autumn based tree, I'm going to choose some of the autumnal colours from the paints that we've got here. So I'm going to go with reds, yellows and oranges. So in order to actually start doing the leaves, I'm just going to put little bits of colour at various points on my tree, like leaves, and they're just going to be little tiny dots. I'm not going to do anything too much, because as I build up the different colours with all of the pens, it will look much better, and you'll see how it turns out. And I might dot a couple down here on the floor while I'm doing it. So I'm going to move on to doing orange. If the colour's not coming out, you might need to shake the pen or the paint. Also remember, the colour of the stone is going to impact on the colour of the paint. So for example, if we were using a lighter coloured stone, the colours might stand out a little bit better. But because this is dark grey, they're not quite as bright. So it might affect your overall end result. Anyway, there we go. At the moment, I'm going to leave that to dry again and see whether I need to darken the colour on any of the leaves. Okay, so some of the colours dried again now, and I'm going to re-go over some of the leaves to make sure that they're a brighter colour. And that's because this stone is particularly darker than I would normally use. But I really like the shape, which is why I wanted to use it. So if you just dot your paint in the areas where you want it to be darker, and then once you're happy with it, you can leave it to dry again. Because I'm going to place this stone outside for people to find, I'm going to put @Medrocks on the back. Now our design's completely dry, we need to make sure that we seal it with either the plastic coat that I'm going to use or with clear nail varnish. If you're using clear nail varnish at home, just take the brush out of the nail varnish pot and just paint over the top of the entire design. We're going to use the plastic coat and this needs to be done outside because it's an aerosol, and we don't want any of the spray and the plastic to go into the library. So I'm going to take this outside to spray. We're now going to spray our rock with the plastic coat. I've got gloves on now so that I can protect my hands from the spray. The can's got a safety feature on, so I'm just going to turn the nozzle. Before I spray the rock, I'm going to just shake the can, and then I'm going to hold the can about 6 to 7 inches above the rock and spray in one smooth movement. You might need to be careful while doing this because the spray will go in one direction as well. Remember that once you've let this dry, if you've done a design on the back of your rock, to spray the other half as well. We've done everything today now that we need to do with our rocks. However, you can keep these rocks for yourselves as ornaments in your rooms, or if you want to, you can place them around Cambridge or the college for your friends to find. Just don't place them in the grass, because otherwise Jo will have my guts for garters, because she will think that it may have broken a lawnmower. If you want to put them around Cambridge, then what we have been doing is we've been putting @medrocks on the back of some of our stones for people to find, so that they know who made them. People are then free to either keep the stones for themselves or to re-hide them elsewhere in Cambridge for others to find. Once you've completed your design, please feel free to post it up on our Medrocks Facebook page, or to post it onto our Twitter or Instagram accounts.